What's up, guys? We are in Columbus, Ohio at the Stereo Lab. It's a vintage audio store and repair center, and there's a ton of crazy vintage audio inside that we can't wait to show you. So let's go check it out. All right, there's a ton of cool stuff in here, so me and Tom are going to tell you guys all about it. And we don't always get the chance to do this, so I'm actually kind of excited that we get to tour a store again.
Yeah,
so
very nice store too.
It's a very nice store. Repair center, so they got a whole repair center in the back where you can get stuff fixed. So if you're in Ohio, come see the guys at Stereo Lab because it's an amazing place. And out here where we're at now, where we're about to tour. Should I answer the phone? Are you going to answer the phone? Stereo Lab, how may I help you? Sure, hang on 1 second. I don't know how to put it on hold. All right, still got it. He just wanted to know if we repaired 9090s. Not we, but here. You have a call on hold. All right, so that's amazing.
That went pretty well.
It did go pretty well. I can still answer the phone. I don't do it in my personal life, but can do it. So the first one we're going to show is this Pioneer SX-850. It has the blue LEDs. I do like that. Yeah. Like the light blue LEDs. This one's really nice. Any of these larger Pioneers are very nice because just all the controls or switches, they're very tactile. And I don't know if this one's on. Oh, it is on. So we're not gonna turn the volume up, but when you hit all the switches, turn the speakers off, then I can play with it. Hit all the switches, you can feel it like as you move stuff. And I think that's like one of the coolest things about the vintage receivers.
Yeah, the 850s, they're not super crazy massive, but you do get a lot of power. And this one in particular, the cabinet, it's in really, really good shape.
Yeah, and it's like a showpiece. So especially when the lights are dim and stuff, it's going to look fantastic in any environment. And a lot of these will. So even if you're looking like it's something smaller, so like under here we have the Technics SA-101. So this is like their very, very basic entry level. This is your first vintage receiver at 18 watts. What's cool about a lot of these is they still have the stickers on them. So a lot of people didn't take the sticker off of the receiver. That's what I find fascinating about this. This one has a signal strength for the tuner, so when you're tuning it, but it doesn't have any power meters. Like this is it's like your basic receiver.
And the tuning light is very basic, but it's cool.
Wait, is that the only way that it lights up is just the tuning dial?
It's like built in to the actual dial. Yeah.
Wait, so if you turn it off. Wow, I've never seen where it's just the tuning light, no other lights. That's pretty cool. So this is a Superscope. So Superscope was Marantz, but also owned by Sony.
Okay.
Right? So it's just an amplifier, so it doesn't look like there's any display or anything. A lot of the Superscopes, I like them because a lot of them light up like pink color, like a pink purple.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, so Superscope by Marantz, but it was actually owned by Sony.
They do have the, I guess these are vertical, but faders. I guess this would be a fader at this point, right?
Cool.
Wouldn't that be?
Yeah.
Got knobs, switches, and faders.
I haven't seen that one before, so I don't know really anything about it. But a lot of the Superscope was like early 70s before they just switched everything over to Marantz. Mm-hmm. Then underneath you have just a giant Sansui. Yeah. This is a 999, the AU-999. The blackface Sansuis are amazing, especially like the knobs, how they're like machined knobs. Like you can probably hear when you turn those knobs. Just like how much, tactile feeling they have to them. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, they look so gorgeous to me. I love the black Sansuis.
So what's interesting is like the entire bottom, like all the control switches, which, God, I know.
Yeah,
like
definitely some weight.
Yeah, right. A lot of weight behind all the knobs and switches on this, but they made the entire bottom black and the whole top silver, which is an interesting design because a lot of them have the silver on the top and the bottom. Mm-hmm. But that's just a unique design. That's a very nice receiver at like 50 or 60 watts.
Technically an integrated?
Yeah, that's what I meant. I meant integrated amp, not receiver. Got me. Good thing I have you. Over here, so I call these the beach receivers, and it's just the nickname I gave them because, you know, they have like this warm glow, but then they also have the fluoroscan built in. It just reminds me of the beach. And if you put on, let's see if I can, so you have a digital tuner, but you also have an analog tuner, so you can scroll across, but it's digital up top. And if you actually tune into something, it has a power meter on the left side.
Yeah.
So the fluoroscans all have that power meter. And so that's the SX-3800. I love those.
Yeah. Very cool look. Kind of a hybrid, old school, new school, but
It
still
is,
vintage.
it is. Like, they started to turn into the fluoroscans and then into the 80s where everything kind of changed. You can tell there's a little bit of a difference in the knobs from the SX, like 1280 series or the 80 series or the 50 series. But they're still very nice knobs. There's a couple of the like push button knobs, which are, you know, a little different than the previous generations. But I love this whole series. The 3000 series is amazing. Underneath you have a 550. So this is going back, it's going to be a 1976. And this is like their second in the lineup, 450, 550. You know, it's basic. You have a tuning meter. You got, you know, 2 indicators for power and then your stereo light. And that's really about it. Very simple. And, you know, anybody looking for just like their first vintage receiver, anything in this size, you know, is going to be very good. If you go up, you know, something like this, which is a lot more, you know, powerful and larger, and like the 850, they're just bigger. That may not be your first vintage receiver unless you just want to start near the top. But, you know, good in any environment. There's a ton of these SX 50 series and 80 series out there. Very popular model. Thousands of these in the 70s.
This one is cool. I've only seen the bigger ones, 9000s, but going down to a 2000, kind of getting this look in a more kind of basic. I mean, I just love the volume and the tuning knobs, and
they even put that detail on the 2000.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a shrunk down version of those.
It's like a mini. Yeah, we'll show you a 9000.
Yeah,
like how big the 9000 is. And then you look at this one, and it's just a smaller version. The interesting thing about these, so on the back, the plate where you put your speaker right and everything is horizontal across the back instead of it actually being on the back of the receiver. It's like flat, which is just kind of a different design. Again, entry level, this was their first receiver in that line. A wonderful line for that exact reason. Just the craftsmanship in these is incredible. You know, you got the company that won the receiver wars, you know, in one aspect of making the biggest receiver ever made. Technics, this is the SA-500, which is not, it's like their midline. They started at, I believe, the 200s. You know, we saw the 101 over here earlier, which is like just like basic entry level. When you get to the 500, like this actually has some power.
Yeah.
Right? So this is definitely a mid-level receiver. You have like a power meter over here on the side. So if you put it on FM, where's the indicator? Or the selector knobs. Let's see, AM, FM. Turn the volume up, find a station. I probably won't find a station. I may not even be on FM. But the watt, you know, when you're actually playing, oh, did I forget to turn the volume up? Turn the volume up.
No, I like the knob. I mean, you can't hear it. But it's just, it's very clicky.
96? All right, wait. All right, so there you go. So you can see we have it turned up quite a bit right now. So maybe we'll. It was only at like 9 o'clock. That's how powerful these get. But you know, you got the green, you got the yellow, and it goes to red when you kind of max it out. So great display on those vintage Techniques for sure. These are very nice.
Yeah, another kind of like the Techniques, a little underrated, but very nice.
Kenwood was a very popular brand back then. Like Kenwood was big stuff. They made some big kabuki speakers. Made all kind of giant receivers like the Super 11s. And like even these receivers, you know, you get up to like the 8000s instead of the 2000s, and they're just massive. Like they're just big receivers. The nice thing about this, the faceplate's machined really well, and the knobs are, you know, pretty nice. They're, you know, they're not maybe machined as much. You know, the displays are always real nice.
Yeah, I can't tell. It looks like the actual the numbers on the dial are actually not on the actual back plate, but.
No, so the light behind, if you turn the light off, lights up from behind, they're on the glass. So if you're ever cleaning it, when they put the numbers on the glass, you have to be very careful. Yeah. Because you will just wipe those numbers right off. You don't want to do that. So if you ever have something like this and you're feeling antsy and you want to clean the inside of the glass for whatever reason, don't wipe it. You'll destroy it. Going down here, we got a 650. It's a little bit bigger than the 550. We just looked at a 550, right? So the 450s and the 550s are pretty much the same size. 650 might have went up a tiny bit, a little bit bigger. But when you move up to the 800, that's when you get like way bigger. But they share a lot of the same characteristics: signal meter, tuner meter, no power meter. Okay, no power meter on the smaller ones. Once you see more meters, that's not what they are. They're not power. But, you know, these are great receivers for anybody just looking, you know, at a 35 watt per channel, you know, mid-grade receiver. Very, very popular. Some Dynacos down the bottom.
Yeah.
They always kind of came in 2-piece sets for the most part. You got, you know, they did tube amps. They did, is this one might be solid state.
I can't tell. This is all covered here.
Stereo 120, 65 watts. It's a solid state.
True.
So, but much more vintage.
Yeah, very old school.
You're a little bit older, different design as well. What do you like over here?
I don't want to. I'm kind of skipping if we're going.
Oh, are you trying to? You just want to start with the Mitsubishi?
It does look very nice. And I mean, the Mitsubishis, they're just. I've only seen a few of them. They're very unique the way that they look. I do, you know, the dials, and I guess this is just an integrated, but I do love when it's just a bunch of knobs. I come from the pro world, and I think it just kind of looks more serious. And the way that they do this with the handles, it's just a very unique look to me.
So it's very interesting with this Mitsubishi set and the models that they put with this, because there's several different. Just think of it like a transformer, right? Or something that you can combine stuff. So the amp is a separate piece.
Okay.
Right? And then this, the preamp, attaches to the front of the amp. But you could also, they make meters. They make,
yes, I've seen
right.
those.
So like you can put the meters in front of the amp if you don't want to have the preamp with it, and put the preamp separate. Like there's multiple pieces that you can kind of tie in. And,
and I'm sorry, you just totally said it, but this is two separate pieces here?
2 separate pieces.
I have seen just like these preamps, and I feel like people would stack them, but I haven't seen it where they're actually like built in the back like this.
Well, so, you know, we used to have one that had the meters. So we put the meters on the front of the amp and we stacked the preamp on top, right? So you can kind of do any configuration that you want, but a lot of people would have, you know, the preamp in front of the amp if they didn't have the meters. Meters are a little more rare, but you actually can run the wires down the side, right? So they're not, because if you have something in front, all the wires are just going to be out on your shelf or whatever. There's actually a you know, tunnel running down the side that you can put the wire in, so that you can hide it. So you can put it on top of your counter or whatever, so that you don't actually have to just have wires all over the place. And then you got, this is like a classic Sansui before they went just totally all green with the you know.
It's got some green.
Well, it's got some green, but like it has the like black faceplate, right? Instead of it just having the glass. Just, you know, it's an interesting look. I do like when it has a little bit of the white writing. And they made like, this is the 2000 when they switched over to the X and the A. They had different looks. But that's a cool receiver.
Yeah.
I like this one.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a bigger Kenwood 8050. I haven't seen one of these, but
so this series, they have all the meters, right? So there's tons of meters all over the front. So you have the power meters for each channel, then you have a signal and tuning, and put it all together so it just looks like a large panel of meters, right? It's very popular look. Everybody loves the meters. It has the glass that kind of comes out and isn't like flat against it. The one thing that kind of changes a little bit in this one compared to, well, this one's kind of the same, is the knobs. So the knobs are still heavy, but they do have a little bit of a more plastic feel than more like the machine feel. But they do still have the notches.
Yeah. When they're all close together like that.
Yeah, which is great. Like you should be able to feel when you turn the volume up.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting. Power boost mode.
That is that like actual, the amp puts out more power?
Yes.
Like is this, it's saying what, 50 to 150? Is that?
It's 150 watts per channel.
Okay.
When you use the power boost.
Okay.
Okay.
But then you can just have like a.
It turns it down. I cannot.
It's not like a loudness.
No, there's still a loudness because the loudness
right.
doesn't really do what a lot of people think the loudness does, and that's just making it more wattage and stuff like that. It's making it better for quiet listening at night.
Sure.
And
it kind of compresses it.
Yeah, like you know more about what that does to the equalization of it, but the power boost does just up the wattage and the power going to it. It's a very interesting feature that not a lot of things have. Yeah. But when you turn up, it does light up on the background. You got a couple. Like this is probably getting more into the early 80s for Kenwood. Maybe like, I'm going to guess. You guys
it's kind of technical.
It's probably like an 82 or something like that. So, but just a nice looking piece. And then you get the Yamaha below.
I like the Yamahas. I mean, you know, because the new ones, their look hasn't really changed. and they just have a very, very classic look. I don't know. There's just something, and I hate kind of using this word, but aesthetically, Yamaha looks a little bit more stale.
I can see why you hate using that word. Go ahead.
But I think it's cool. I like things that look a little bit more like a pro piece, and I don't know. It's the way that they do. It's really the dial here and their VUs. I love the integrateds. That was like one of the first vintage pieces I ever had.
They didn't go crazy with colors.
Yeah.
Right. So you have a couple bulbs in the tuning and signal meter, and then you have, a little bit throughout, but not crazy. You can't do crazy LEDs with these. You do LEDs, they light. You can do different colors, but it's very subtle, right? It's not going to go crazy. I love the selector knobs, how they feel, right? They still do these on the current models of Yamaha.
Yes.
So like we sell like the RN 2000s. Which are very popular, and they still have those. They feel a little different.
Yeah,
but
with they're all analog Yamahas that they do now. I mean, they're very similar, and the loudness knob is one of my favorite things.
Oh, instead of just a button.
Yeah, you can kind of dial it in, just have a little bit. You don't have to like totally squash the sound. It can just boost the speakers a little.
Oh, that's a fun idea, and I love all their cabinets are usually in very good shape. Their cabinets lasted. A lot of times like the Pioneer cabinets start peeling and stuff like that, but the wood on the Yamaha seems to last really well. Now, when they switched over to the dark wood, okay, then you start to see a little bit more peeling and stuff. The dark wood definitely gives more, more wear over time. And like when they started introducing digital into the Yamahas, still kept the same look. They're a little shorter. Not as tall, but this whole series, even their integrated amps, all this series is amazing.
Yeah, but really, the controls on it, I just kind of like the Kenwood, kind of technical, but I do kind of like how this is laid out with the presence knob, which is kind of your mid-range, but it kind of gives you a hint at what it's supposed to actually do, with giving more presence to the actual sound. So the loudness knob is great. The filters, I mean, it's a lot of features that you would actually use.
That's something you usually only see on monster receivers, is where you can control the treble, the mid-range, and the bass. That is not something that's on many smaller receivers. So like this Kenwood's real big. It has a mid.
Sure.
But if you go down in size, that mid drops off on a lot of brands, and you don't have that. And this one, it's an 820. It's not their smallest, but it's still probably under the range of, it's not a monster receiver. To have a mid-range is pretty cool. And then go down to Sansui. These are amazing. Like when you flick these, like you can just hear it. Like an integrated amp that looks like that. These sound amazing.
Yeah.
They have that all black look.
You can put it in a rack.
You can put it in a rack. It's rack mountable. They have a whole set. So like you could do the whole Sansui rack. Amazing stuff. And they were doing the black components when everybody else was still doing silver. So they were really hitting the black components early. And they were different than when everything went to black components in the 80s. It's a different look, different design. All of the writing on there is kind of etched, right? So it's not just printed, but like you can feel it.
Wow.
So, and it maybe not be etched, just lifted. Lifted is probably the better word.
Yeah.
But it's not flat printed. Like you can feel it. So very tactile.
I love the pro looking pieces.
It is a pro looking piece. Their EQs are pro looking. Like all that stuff's pro looking.
I love that.
When I say EQ, ADC EQs, EQs are always fun. Down here, look at this one. That's a tuner from Carver, but look how thick that glass is on there.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Carver.
Down here, we got a Parasound, the old Parasound logo, AV processor. You don't do too much with AV processors anymore, but it's nice to see like a more vintage Parasound piece. The brand's been around forever. It's really good stuff. There's a really cool set over here I got to show you, so that's going to be neat. But before I show you guys the system in the other half of the store, I thought I'd take you back to the repair center and show you some of the really cool stuff that I found in the back, like this Yamaha receiver and the JVC next to it. The JVC is just really neat with the EQ on the side. You get a Marantz 2275, 75 watt per channel Marantz is an amazing machine. I love how all the silver knobs are there with the black background. This Pioneer Elite M91 is a wonderful amplifier. Take a little bit of work every once in a while when you got to get them in the shop, but they're really nice. Couple more Marantzes up here. What do we have here? A 4230, that's a quad receiver at 30 watts per channel, and the famous Marantz 2270.
And then what else do we have? We have, oh, look at this. So you got one of the larger Pioneers. That is a SX-950 right there with a SX-780 next to it. One of the most popular receivers of all time, but it fails in comparison in size to this 50 series right here. You get a Harman Kardon twin-powered receiver there, which is super cool. You got another 80 series down the bottom. You can tell by the color indicators on the front there and the black meters. And you got one of the blue metered Technics, which is really cool. Now coming over here, you have the first receiver from the Stereo Wars, the Pioneer SX-1010, and then an Onkyo next to it. A lot of those Onkyos are missing that button right there, the power button where you see that little red dot. And then underneath you have a 50 series. Now, a 1250, that some people say is Pioneer's best sounding receiver. A lot of people like the look of the 80 series, but the 50 series, the sound is unmatched. Here's another 2275. I love the looks of these and the 2325s. But look, this Pioneer G-2000, like that's a monster receiver. That is crazy how big that is. Missing a knob in the center, but missing a couple knobs, but it's in for repair, so that's okay. You got all kind of cool stuff in the back of this store. You get a realistic right there, and then another Marantz, that's a 120. Very cool. What's on the other side? Now look at that. I love the way that one looks. The Heath kit right there. It looks like a vintage car. And then you got a Pioneer next to it as well. And then one of the European Pioneers, the 5580, which is like a Pioneer SX-1050. And look, there's a lot of receivers back here. So if I'm wrong on any of these models, I don't have my glasses on when I'm filming this. So I'm going to do my best, but it's going to be close. We got some black face receivers up here. Look at that Marantz cassette deck. I have not seen that model for a long time. It's very cool. Tom, what do you think about that one? Tom's doing a video for his own channel at the same time, so we're just having a blast. If you haven't followed Tom, it's Tom Bryant Hi-Fi. I'll link it below in the description. He's going to have just another look of this tour. So you get a Sansui, more Pioneer, more Yamaha. Look at that Yamaha right there. That is an incredible, that is a tuner. That is so amazing. And then you have another Marantz. Suitcase turntable there from Revox. I'm actually curious what's in that box. Now down here, got another giant JVC, and then we got a Sherwood. That's a very big Sherwood receiver. But man, they got all kind of good stuff back here in the back room. This is all stuff that is in for repair, right? So you can take your stuff to this Columbus location, and they'll get it fixed up for you. They've been doing it for I think almost 50 years. So they've been around a long, long time. It's a great repair center. Here's another Onkyo. Look at the size of that. Then you get the Pioneer amp in the middle and a realistic amp. I love all the buttons on that one. And then you got this large Sansui on the end. So hey, all kind of vintage receivers. You see how different everything is? Like all the different brands have different looks. And this is the place that you can get it fixed in Columbus, Ohio. Stereolab is just such a cool experience in the back. So here's, it's a little preview of what it looks like behind the scenes, but it's time to get back out to the floor.
Let's switch sides with you. So we have La Scalas on both sides, the AL3s, just a different build than the current La Scalas where they actually have just like you can see the placement of the wood, a little bit different than they look now. But still very nice speakers. But the nice thing about like this wood is it matches kind of everything we're going to show in this stack. It's a nice stack. You got the LP12 Linn Son.
I'm not familiar with Linn Sondek at all.
No? These are very nice turntables.
Yeah.
A lot of turntables actually were kind of made after these to kind of replicate them. Go ahead. So see how like where the tone, or it just like floats? It's just a really good design.
Yeah.
Then underneath, you got a C-28. It's a really nice preamp.
Yeah.
Has like the label over all the controls there, which is nice. Oh, it's on. I think the volume wasn't all the way up.
Well, it's Klipsch.
Oh, that's true. You don't need any volume. I can hear it. The volume's all the way down. So a nice warm McIntosh glow. And, that matches like the 2105, which is one of their like larger amps. It's not like their most powerful, but it is a larger. The one really good thing about McIntosh is a lot of the amps this size have been dropped, or just in picking up, the glass is broken. It's very common, all the time. Or over time, you get some bubbling, right? Some bubbling on these. But they actually still make the glass.
Yeah.
So you can actually have, I don't know if I'd recommend doing it at home, but if you come to a place like Stereo Lab or something and you get it fixed, you know, you can replace the glass, and they're not always available. They do runs throughout the year. But it's nice that you can, any of these, if you have glass problems, which a lot of them do, you can still replace the glass. You have the MR-77 tuner down here. Does this have the Magic Eye?
What's the Magic Eye?
What? So the Magic Eye is like this. You don't know about this?
No, I don't.
Okay, so the Magic Eye would be a tube, right?
Okay.
And it would sit behind here, and when you get the station in, like the green glow of the tube expands to show you that you're getting the best quality signal in there. Right? So instead of a meter, it's just a tube glows and expands like an eye. Right? So when your eye pupil
Iris, yeah,
or
pupils,
Pupil?
they dilate and
yeah, so it kind of does that,
The
but
opposite of
in
that.
tube form. So that's the best way I can explain it.
and they just do that as like a display just because it looks cool.
No, I mean it helps like with the that's how the signal kind of comes in.
Okay.
It's tied in with that.
have to see
I'm
it.
probably wrong. I wasn't alive, but it's okay. I'll do the best I can. Another really cool thing, if you look like throughout the store, one of my favorite things is vintage signage, and I love all like the dealer stuff and everything. And there's just signs like the RCA tube signs, like the tube tested by experts, like that. You would have that by your tube tester in your store. Like that's amazing. It's like the artwork.
That is actually this is probably my favorite. Just the Pioneer rack sitting on like a beach.
Yeah, so this was in all of Pioneer's ads
Okay.
and their catalogs. This was the picture, and it's just like a blown up vintage picture of, you know, the Pioneer rack, which
Yeah.
is really cool. The same thing up here with the 1280. It's like the blown up ad picture, which is amazing. I love that. Because it's the ad picture, it still looks vintage, which is wild. But all the signs, like the BSR sign, like this is stuff that was around 50 years ago in the store that you would have seen. Over here, you get a Zenith sign, Magnavox, Admiral, RCA clock. Look at the little letterboard down the bottom. That's super cool. This giant Crosley. You got a lot of these neons, like original neon signs, which are wild. The Shore sign.
Yeah.
I love the one over here. The Philco, right? So it has all the little Philco products going around, and they just kind of light up like one at a time and just kind of go in random directions. Isn't that
Wow.
cool?
Yeah.
So I've never seen that one. I haven't seen a lot of these actually.
No, yeah.
You know, the Philco tube clock. They used to make a lot of clocks because like people used to use clocks more than they do now, right? And so they'd advertise in the clocks. I've seen like Sansui clocks and all different kind of stuff. So lots of clocks. I love this one, the Pioneer sign. You know, I love Pioneer.
Yeah.
And I love all of the vintage signage. So, like, this is amazing for me. The Emerson clock right over here. And your favorite.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, this is like one of the cooler posters that I like, and just having the neon lights for, I guess, the sound waves, it's very cool.
Yeah, the
That's just
Maxell
a
blown
nice
away
twist.
with the JBL L100s. And, like, these chairs, I've actually sat in these chairs before there's a shop down in Alabama that has a pair of these.
Okay.
And it's just interesting to sit in the same chair. Like, it's a famous chair. Like, they're very expensive.
Okay.
Like, you could still get them places, but it's going to cost you. But, you know, it's just interesting to see a poster like, well, not even a poster, it's a light board. So, like, art. You have the Crosley radio sign,
Oh, that's my guy, Stevie Ray.
Stevie Ray Vaughan over there. And, like, even all the stuff down in the case, you have all the radios throughout. There's a couple cases here with some really cool, you know, vintage radios and different vintage audio pieces. You got a JVC sign right there. And then up here, the Zenith clock. I just love signage. So if, you know, a lot of you guys probably haven't seen a lot of this signage. It's rare. A lot of collectors kind of go with this stuff. But the Zenith, the Fisher, I saw a Fisher one on eBay, not the same one. I actually like that. It looks cooler in person than it does in pictures. It looks like three-dimensional. Back to where we were earlier, you got a Polk sign back here. Got a Zenith one back there. And I love the Stardust. Is that an original? Is that after the hotel?
No, that's a
Or the-
production.
okay.
Custom made, but that is, you're right, the design is from the hotel.
Yeah.
Same thing with Flamingo.
Route 66. That's what I'm into. I love Route 66 stuff. It's so cool. Yeah, I love the actual, non-LED neon signs that cost a fortune to run nowadays. There's even some on the outside, so it's a great store. So if you're in Columbus, right, gotta come see Stereo Lab because this is amazing. It's an amazing time. I love going across the country. If you guys know of stores by you, let us know in the comments so we can come visit. and check him out. Hopefully you had fun today. But that is all we got. See you next time.